Hey, the Racer is back with another video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel to help my channel grow. Your support is greatly appreciated. All right, family, we got to talk about the Indiana Fever because they got smacked down by the Atlanta Dream the other night, 58-77, and we're still talking about it. So let's get into it. All right, family. Everyone thought that the Fever would be an offensive powerhouse this year. Right? Offense was the last thing we were worried about. Quote CC. We need to worry about defense. We're going to score points with the talent we have. That's what CC said, right? Well, CC, with all that talent you got, and even though you wasn't there, right? And Sophie Cunningham wasn't there, still had DB, AB, Latasha Howard, and Kelsey Mitchell. They only scored 58 points. That was it. 58 points. Now, what DeWanna Bonner, Aaliyah Boston, Natasha Howard, and Kelsey Buckets Mitchell, they should have been able to score at least that. At least that. At least. And they only scored 36 points. The starters? That was it. They only scored 36 points. That was it. Atlanta Dream, their starters scored 60. Come on now. Come on now. I mean, we could beat the bottom dwellers without CC, but we can't beat no contenders without her. Now, think about it. We have a hard time trying to beat bottom dwellers without CC. Right? We lost to the Washington Mystics with a bunch of rookies. And we got two Hall of Famers, and we had two Hall of Famers. Right? We had DB. We had Natasha Howard. We had Kelsey Mitchell. We had AB. And we lost to a bunch of rookies. How did that happen? Then we lost to the Connecticut Suns. They trash. Everybody beating on them. And the funny part about this whole thing, to me, is that Stephanie White is struggling trying to win without CC, right? And struggling to beat mid to below average teams with Hall of Famers. Struggling. How can you have DeWanna Bonner, Aaliyah Boston, Natasha Howard, and Kelsey Mitchell, and you lose to the Connecticut Suns? How you do that? How do you lose to the Washington Mystics? How? I said, then when we play against contenders like the Atlanta Dream, man, it don't look like we got a snowball chance in hell of winning those games without CC. It's crazy. It's crazy. And kudos to the Atlanta Dream, right? Third best team in the W. They got Brittany Griner, Brianna Jones, and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough in the offseason. Those were great moves. And then the stroke of genius was snatching up Coach Carl Smetzger from Florida Gulf Coast. That was huge. I mean, he's a good coach. My friend, his son played for him, right? Good coach, good coach. He wins with whatever you give him, right? He didn't have a bunch of 4-5 stars. He had 2- and 3-star players, won conference championships, and made it to the tournament, and did well in the tournament a few times. Florida Gulf Coast, look it up, right? And to be honest with you, if I was the New York Knickerbockers or the New York Knicks, no, I'd give him a call. You need a coach that can win whatever you got. And that brings me to Stephanie White. All right, let's take a look at these stats real quick. All right. The Fever lost 58-77, scoring 33 points in the first half and only 23 points in the second, 9 points in the third quarter. She got our coach. Made no adjustments at halftime. Went in tied 33-33. Felt good about the situation. So like, we're going to run it back. But man, Carl, he went in at halftime being the good coach that he is, made some adjustments, and got the Fever to play the game that he wanted them to play. Got them to take some bad threes at bad angles. They wasn't great angles. Those are bad angles. They had them taking threes where they wanted them to take threes at, right? Then you had a situation where they took some long twos, took some middies, you know. And the thing is that Atlanta, they got hot at the right time, right? And they went on, you know, a run. And once they went on that run, the Fever never recovered. And they wound up getting blown out by 19 points, right? I mean, the biggest lead they had was 21. And they won by 19. The biggest lead we had, I believe, was like 3 points, right? So we never went on no real serious run, okay? Indiana shot 36% from the field and only 20% for three-point range, while the Dream shot 46% from the field and 22% from beyond the arc, right? I mean, there we go right there. The Dream wasn't hitting their J's like that. You know, Ryan Howard only scored 3 points. No, they wasn't hitting their J's, but you know what they were doing? You know, when the James wasn't falling, they were getting their points in the paint. You know, they had 13 fast break points to our 2. Our only fast break came from Natasha Howard when she got the rebound and took the ball coast to coast and got a layup. Stephanie, that in itself should have showed you something. We need to run the ball. If Natasha Howard can go coast to coast by herself and get a layup, that should have told you something. Let's run. But you wouldn't do it. You want to walk the ball up. And if you watch that play, when Natasha Howard went coast to coast, nobody was really running with her. Nobody was really running with her. She was running, she did it by herself. And you know why she did it by herself? Because the game plan was not to run. It was to walk it up. She took it upon herself to run. Much respect to Natasha Howard. Much love for you, baby. Much love. All right. Fever were out rebounded by 17. They only had 27 boards. Fever had 44. Turnovers wasn't an issue. Right? Fever scored 28 points in the paint. The Dream had 44. That means that the Fever were taking a bunch of James, right? And they wasn't falling. Now, if you're hot and the jumpers are falling, take them, right? But if they're not falling, you gotta drive to the basket. You gotta go into your bigs. You gotta figure out a way to generate easy points, to try to get the best points you can get, high percentage points, right? Long threes, long twos, I said, those not high percentage points. And then he had to take them at the angle. I said, then they was taking them in at that angle that's right there in that little corner right there. That's a hard three to make. And he forced them to take threes from that area. You know what I mean? So that's coaching. That's coaching. Now, let's talk about this right here, right? Natasha Howard, she had 15 points because the Fever starters, they had 36, right? Atlanta Dream starters, they had 60. So the Fever, Natasha Howard, she had 15. Good job, sweetie. Kelsey Buckets Mitchell, she had 11, went 5 of 16 from the field. Not going to win with her playing like that. You know, I mean, if Kelsey is not there, you know, CC is not there, Kelsey got to step up, man. She got to get, 20, 30, 20, 24, 25 points a game while CC is out. Erin McDonald, she came off the bench, 14 points. You're not expecting that from her, but she gave it to you, right? Atlanta Dream, Alicia Gray, Eastern Conference Player of the Year, or month, led with 23 points. Brittany Big Bone Jones, she had 21. She had a good time last night, or the other night. Then you got Coffee. She came off the bench and added 3 points and shot 3 big 3-pointers in the second half. That's what helped them pull away, right? We're gonna have a tough time beating the Atlanta Dream unless we, play differently, right? You got to play with pace. We got to run them up and down the court, and we wasn't doing that. Not sure why Stephanie White wanted to go to a half-court game with them kind of bigs out there, but she did, and we ended up losing, which is not cool. Don't get it twisted. Atlanta, they're a good team. They got a good coach. They gelling and winning at the same time. It seems like the Fever, they still trying to figure things out, and they still having a hard time gelling, right? Stephanie got to step up her game. She got to talk to Lynn Dunn, her mentor. Lynn Dunn taught her everything she knew. They was able to work things out with Chrissy Size. Chrissy Size, she beat trash teams. Look at it. Look at her record. She swept the Atlanta Dream last year. She swept them, right? She beat, the Chicago Sky, 3-1, 4-1 last year? Lost one game against the Washington Mystics. Yeah, if you was trash and you saw the Fever, that's an L. For the most part, had a hard time beating the contenders. But when it came to them trash teams, oh man. We ate. We ate real good on the trash. But with Stephanie White, you can't look at the schedule and say that's a W. Especially without CC, and that don't make no sense because we got all these Hall of Famers and all these great players, right? All these all-stars. That don't make sense, right? I think if Colin Metzger had this team, you know what I'm saying, he'll be doing at least what he's doing with the Atlanta Dream right now. That's how I look at it. Now, I don't mean to kill Stephanie. You know what I mean? I like her. She's a sweetheart, family woman. I can appreciate that. But she got to step up her game, man. She do. She missing little stuff. And that don't make sense, right? Don't make sense. Maybe the personal issues that she having, maybe that's taking away her mind from the game. And she missing like little details that she need to pay attention to that could help us win games. Because, winning and losing games is always in the details. And if you're distracted, by other stuff, and, you may not pay attention to those details that you had needed to pay attention to, right? And, and it's causing some issues. It's causing some issues because, the other coaches, they paying attention to them details, and they executing on the Fever and getting W's. Right? So, Lynn, get you some advice from Lynn Dunn. Right? She worked with Chrissy Size. They found out a way to unleash, CC and Kelsey Buckets. I said, you need to figure out a way to unleash all these all-stars that you got, how to make them play together, and how to exploit their talent. I said the right word. I said exploit. You need to exploit them. You need to exploit their talents. Right? You need to put them on display. Natasha, Dewana, AB, Kelsey Mitchell, you need to do that while CC is out. And then when CC come back, man, don't you put a leash on her, man. Don't you do it. Don't you do it, man. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to make it through the first year here. You're not going to make it. And the future coach might be sitting right there on the bench. Keep playing. You need to sit down with your girl, Lynn Dunn, and get this figured out. All right? So I said what I said, and I stand on it. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel to help my channel grow. One love.